What is up, everybody? Welcome back. It has been a minute since I've seen your faces. That 2 weeks turned into a month, but that's because there is a lot of changes that happened. There's still more to come, and like, no more hair. Like I cut it all off, and I will say it feels weird. It feels weird. It feels good, but it feels weird. But enough of that for right now. Today we are talking about the Canon M50 and if it's still any good in 2022. Now, I have had this camera for around 3-ish years. I bought it back in 2019. It was around like $500, but that's what I could afford at the time. But now you can find them all day long on eBay for like $300. Comes with lens, batteries, cables. You just gotta shop around. I would say look on Adorama first because they certify all their used equipment, but eBay is also a good place. Just be careful who you buy from. Now let's talk some specs. First off, the camera has dual pixel autofocus, and I'm not a Canon fanboy. I'm not being paid to say this, but Canon autofocus is the best. Dual pixel is the only way to go on a cheaper camera. I've used Sony, I've used Canon, I've used Fuji, I've used Panasonic, and Canon wins. Now on the newer cameras, Sony is starting to really catch up, but in this price point of camera, Sony sucks. So on the camera, you'll get 24 frames per second at 1080. You will also get 60 frames per second at 1080. So you get decent slow-mo, so you can slow things down a little bit, and it looks good. Now when you click into 120 frames per second, dual pixel does dip out, and you drop down to 720p, which I find very offensive. It's 2022. Even when the camera came out in 2016, 720p was a little old. So, like, a firmware update maybe possibly could fix this. Canon. But it is there if you want to use it. A lot of people on their phones still watching 720p. Now, it does shoot in 4K, but it is handicapped by Canon. The 4K is very good, don't get me wrong, but it has its issues. It is an APS-C size sensor, so it already has a 1.6 times crop on it. But when you kick into 4K, it goes to a 2 times, 2.2 times, so you're getting into the micro four thirds realm of crop sensors. So just keep that in mind when you're making your lens selections. Also in 4K, dual pixel dips out, says peace, bye, be gone, and you move to a very unreliable, like very unreliable contrast-based autofocus, and it's all bad. It's like all to the bad, just bad autofocus. So it is better to shoot in manual focus, and one awesome feature of the camera is it does have focus peaking, so you get red, green, blue, different intensities, which it just makes getting your focus super easy. Now this camera does have a 24.1 megapixel sensor. I don't know why that 0.1 is even there. It is a CMOS sensor, and it uses the Canon EFM mount. Now for the EFM line of lenses, there is a good selection. Sigma's really diving into creating good quality lenses for this mount, but I would definitely pick up a EF adapter for it. There's one by Canon, there's one by Viltrox. I own them both. I can't tell a difference in the electronics in them. Autofocus is about the same speed with whatever lens you're using, so save $100, pick up the Viltrox one, you'll be happy, and you'll be able to use all EF lenses. And because it's an APS-C sensor, you'll also be able to use EFS lenses like the one I'm using here, which is the Sigma 10-20 3.5. I love this lens. It's great. Now on a EFM line, an APS-C sensor, 10-20 is going to be, it's like 16-32, but it is perfect for talking heads, vlogs, whatever it may be. Now just remember when you click into 4K, that 10 is going to become a 20 and that 20 is going to become a 40. But I have found this handicap to be useful every now and then when I need a little more focal range, but I run out of zoom. Click it into 4K, that 80 becomes 100 and gives me just that little extra zoom I need.
Simba.
Who the hell is Simba?
Remember.
Why are you yelling at people?
Remember.
Remember what? You just scared the hell out of me and now I gotta go wipe myself?
Remember Epidemic Sound.
What is Epidemic Sound?
Epidemic Sound is the greatest place in all of the Pride Lands to get your royalty-free music.
It's the best place on the internet to get your royalty-free music.
They have over 90,000 music tracks and sound effects. All of the Pride Lands could be yours for $15 a month.
It's actually not that bad. It's actually pretty good.
And if you click the link below, you will receive a free 30-day trial to the Pride plans.
Free 30-day trial link down below? Yeah, I might have clicked it if you didn't just scare the hell out of me. And what is this? You're straight ripping off the Lion King.
No. No, I'm not.
Yes, you are. You even said Simba at the beginning of it.
No, I did.
100% straight ripping off Lion King.
No.
Maybe, just maybe, if you would have started off with like, hey, do you want the internet's best royalty-free music and sound effects? Try Epidemic Sound. It's only $15 a month, and you get a free 30-day trial when you click the link down below. Maybe I would have clicked it then. But no.
Remember,
You had to go and do this. Like, you're straight ripping off the Lion King. 100% straight ripping it off. Epidemic Sound. Now that opener you saw at the beginning of the video, that was shot on the Canon M50 in a mix of 1080-24 and 1080-60. But I wanted to give the M50 the best possible chance to look as good as it can, so I did cheat a little bit. Now, keeping budget-friendly shooters in mind, on a budget camera, I did use Technicolor Cine Style to give the M50 a little bit more dynamic range and that C-Log-ish look that I like. That allowed me to do a little more color grading in post. If you don't know what Technicolor Cine Style is, it's a C-Log-ish profile that can be downloaded to any camera, and it allows that camera a little more dynamic range, and it gives it a gray picture profile to allow color grading to bring back some of the highlights and the lowlights. But Cine Style is very limited. It's not as good as it could be, but then again, it's free, so you get what you pay for. If you do have a little bit more money, I would definitely pick up the EOS HD C-Log. I did a video about it right there, and you can't beat it. It's $20. It gives you as close to C-Log as you possibly can get without buying a camera that costs $3,000 that has C-Log. Now, the thing I really like about the EOS HD C-Log is it color grades so easy, and it's so beautiful when it's done. It gives you plenty of dynamic range, especially on an 8-bit sensor, which the Canon M50 has, and it just makes it look so good. So good. Now, low light on this camera, and really any Canon APS-C sensor, it's really not good. Like, it's not good. You can bump the ISO up to 800, but you'll have some noise. But if you have a good editing software, they do have built-in denoisers, and it will cut the noise out pretty easily. You can take it to 1250, 1600 ISO if you absolutely have to, but anything beyond that is just absolutely unusable in my opinion. There's just way too much noise in the image, and it's just, it's bad. It's not good. It doesn't look professional. Now, editing the footage that comes out of the M50 is going to be super easy. It's 8-bit 1080, so any computer within the last like 10 years will be able to edit this with ease. Even when you click into the 4K, it is still 8-bit, so it's not too much strain on the computer. The menu system in the M50 is just like any other Canon. It is super easy to follow along and navigate. Everything is labeled right where you think it should be. Now, I will say inside the menu, there's one thing that you're definitely going to want to change, and that's the shutter release setting, so you can use manual lenses. If you don't, the camera will not take a photo. It will not take video if you're using a manual lens. Now, what you're going to do is go into the main menu, go over to the wrench icon and click on page 5, go to custom functions, slide over to page 3, and it's going to say release shutter without lens. Click okay, change that. It's 30 seconds to do this, and it's going to save you such a headache when you're on set. And lastly, the thing I want to talk about is overheating. I live in Arizona. It gets a little bit hot. Just a little bit hot, like you can't go outside. In 1080-24, I've never had the camera overheat. Now, there was one day I was shooting 4K, I was doing an interview outside, it was a 110-degree day, and the camera did overheat and shut off. But it was super easy fix. All I did was leave it off for a few minutes, turned it back on, I was able to finish the interview and be done with it. But this is something very important to keep in mind when you're shooting outside, especially if you live in the hot areas. So my final thoughts on the Canon M50 is that it is a great camera, especially for the price you're paying. $300 used. You can pick them up, I think, $500 new if you don't want to go the used route. It does amazing 1080, 24, and 60, especially when paired with a good log profile. It's just, for the price point, you cannot beat it. It does 60 frames per second when you want to slow things down a little bit, but I would like to have seen 120, 1080, because 720 is just outdated. For the 4K, although I don't use it much, it is there when I do need it, so it's nice to have. But the autofocus and the crop does handicap it quite a bit, that I just kind of steer away from it. Unless, as I said, I need that little extra focal length, or I know I'm going to be popping in and popping out of a talking head section. So overall, I am very happy with the Canon M50, but I will say if you have the extra budget, go with the M6 Mark II. It is just a far superior camera for production work and client work if that's the route you were wanting to take. The M6 Mark II can be had for $700 for the body, $850 for a lens and a battery as well, but don't let that take away from the M50. The Canon M50 for the price is the best bang for the buck you can find. If you're wanting to do YouTube and stuff like that, the Canon M50 is a banging camera for that. I used it for around 2 years on my YouTube channel and light production stuff, and I was happy with it. It was doing what I needed, but then clients started asking for 4K and 6K and higher frame rates, and then I got addicted to ProRes, and that's why that thing's there. But the M50 is a great camera. Definitely go out and get it if that's what you're wanting, or if that's what's in your price range. You will not be unhappy with it. But that's going to do it for me today. If you guys enjoyed this video, smash that subscribe button, comment down below what you liked, what you didn't like. It really does make a difference. Follow me on Instagram, and I will see you in the next one.